Okay, let's talk about Monster Hunter Rise, my impressions, if you will. So, we've been able to play this game for quite some time now. I figured my impressions should wait until a little bit later, which I feel should be more adequate. I feel like my stuff isn't so outlandish anymore. I believe Monster Hunter World to be a mix between, Monster Hunter World Rise to be a mix between Generations Ultimate and then World. More gen than that of World, but there's a lot of things that's in World that is also in this game. More notably, the combat mechanics, if you will, like the base stuff, like the weapons themselves. I'm not talking about the wire bugs or anything special like that, just how the weapons perform in the game. Is one thing to note though, however, that I believe the weapons themselves move a little quicker than that of base World or just World in general. And that may lead to some people thinking that the weapons feel a little bit lofty. They lack a bit of impact because there was no, I guess, a grandiose flourish into most of the attacks. That was one thing I was missing. I will admit, I was missing that in all the lancing attacks. I was feeling like my attacks themselves, while they were actually connecting and hitting, they didn't feel like they landed with much of plop. You know what I mean? It was just kind of there. And then I went back. I actually compared the speeds of the weapons in both Rise and World, and noted that the reason why it felt this way is because, well, World speeds was a little bit slower. Now, I don't want to say it was full-on slower, as in they slowed it down. I feel like they just sped Rise up, because that's why I feel like the weapons themselves feel a little bit janky. Like, you look at some of the weapons, and you note that they don't really feel as, they don't look, I should say, as smooth. It's mostly an animation-based thing. And in Monster Hunter World, we do know that the weapons themselves all got tremendous buffs and they felt fantastic. That's one thing I will 100% give to Monster Hunter World. They made the weapons feel great, very powerful weapons. But in Rise, they still are quite strong. They just don't feel the same way. And that's due in part to the way the animations themselves actually feel and even look. So because that's one note to actually add to it, I'm not going to say the weapons are bad. They're just slightly sped up, so they feel a little different. So that's all I'm really going to say about all the weapons in its entirety. I will probably make a couple of videos speaking closely on the weapons that I did enjoy playing. Mind you, it won't be every single weapon type. I am trying to try different things in Rise. So bow is on the list. I've been playing a little bit with the bow, trying to get my rocks off with that. My problem with the bow, however, is I don't feel like I'm really doing much. I feel like I'm lacking, again, the same impact and all that stuff. Like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything incredible. Kind of feel like I'm just like pecking at him ever so slightly. But nevertheless, for Rise, what it is, I do like a lot of things they actually introduced. The wire bug mechanic, funnily enough, I like more than I initially thought I would actually like. The one problem, if I could genuinely call it a full-on problem, more like a small nuance of an issue, would be the fact that the standard mounting feature is gone and then replaced with Wyvern riding. Now, I don't mind mounting being gone. Mounting was cool. It was good that it was in. Had they taken mounting away, I honestly wouldn't have batted a raw eyelash. I'd have noted it. I'd be like, huh, mounting's not in the game. And then I moved on with my life. It's not like where they took out underwater combat and then I just can't shut up about it. But with the Wyvern riding, it feels too forced. By that I mean, once you put the monster in the state to be ridden, I guess you could say, it's almost unavoidable to ride it. And it takes nothing to get him into the state. Just beat him up a bunch and then you'll eventually get him there. Basically just doing as you do. I don't know, like using the wire bug to do some of your attacks getting closer, using the Silkbind attacks or whatever to get a little bit like more efficient in your battle and so on. Mind you, I'm going to put a massive asterisk here. I don't know the exact 100% combination as to what you need to do to get him ready for riding. It just seems that I'm more often not getting him in the state to be ridden, just by going through my normal actions as I'm fighting through the hunt, if you will. So that's one thing I don't necessarily like too much, because it's more forced than anything. It's like, how do you ride the monster? You literally just hit it. Once it's in the state to be ridden, you hit it and bam, you're riding it. It's like, I don't want to ride it. I want to just kind of stay there. I mean, I guess it is cool. I just wish it was more optional. Like, if you don't if you don't do the jumping attacks to mount the monster, you will never mount the monster. You know, if it's something, please quote me if I'm wrong. Well, not quote me, but please correct me if I'm wrong. If there is a way to just never ever mount the monster at all, or to do the Wyvern riding thing, let me know. I'll try my best to like probably steer clear of it, because or use it to steer clear of Wyvern riding, because it's not my favorite mechanic. It's not a bad mechanic, it's just one that I don't like all that much. This feels like a good enough time to talk about the wire bugs and how I feel about them. So the wire bugs in this game, they are pretty interesting. Truth be told, I like them way more than I thought I would actually. Like, I initially looked at it and I was like, ugh, this is going to be another thing that's going to annoy me to death, and it's going to be a gimmick that didn't really add anything to the game. Not so. The wire bugs is literally everything that this game revolves around, and you really get to see it actually work. I mean, not just in combat, but just in getting around the map and the like. Like, when you traverse the map in a normal Monster Hunter game, just walking on the ground, every now and again there's a section that allows you to climb some vines, or there might be a bit of verticality because like there's a hill somewhere, so you're getting upwards, you're getting more vertical by the means of the game actually putting the means for you to do it, i.e. just this contextual means to do so. Where in Rise, it's like, where do you want to go? The world is literally your oyster. You can get there. If you can see it, you can get to it. How do you get to it? A little trickery with the wire bug, and you can find your way up there, my guy. It's so cool. And on top of that, it's like the developers knew you were going to do this, so there's all sorts of goodies hidden way up high in this nook randomly way over here somewhere that you normally wouldn't actually have the ability to get to, but with a little bit of tinkering you can actually do so. That's fun. That's something you would see in like a single player based game akin to that of like, I don't know, like Breath of the Wild. I say Breath of the Wild because like an open world game. So like something you would see in open world games where the the developers themselves kind of reward you for your exploration. Like you do these weird things to get to places that you think you're not supposed to get into, but you totally can. And then there's something good there for you. Now I know that's a small thing to like note. The fact that the wire bugs themselves like really lend to a lot of exploration to the game, which is good when you really think about it, because it allows the developers to put not necessarily more in the map. Because my biggest issue with worlds, like bigger, not like Monster Hunter World, but like just worlds in video games in general, is that the world itself is so big but full of nothing. It's just, it looks lush, it looks vast, but essentially there's nothing in it. I'd much rather a more condensed world with more stuff happening than a large sprawling thing where everything is disconnected and it really feels quite right. Now Monster Hunter World kind of threaded the needle between both, and in this game I feel like they're trying to do the same thing, but instead of like completely condensing everything with stuff to see all over the place, it's more so like you have to go find it. Well, you could in a sense go and find it. Like again, like I said, if you see like a hill or like a cliff somewhere, you can probably get up that cliff with a bit of tinkering. You can do so. Mind you, there are certain cliffs that are literally there designed so that way it keeps you bordered into the map or whatnot. But for the most part, everything with inside those borders is free game. So I really like that. I know that's like that's one thing to really like from the wire bugs, but it's honestly my favorite thing about them. The fact that they lend themselves so well to the immersion, because when it comes for me, Monster Hunter is a great game, but when my immersion is met, I am much more inclined to really enjoy myself rather than just come in and use the place that I'm in as an arena to fight the monster, where now I get to use the place as a place to just explore it and enjoy myself. I enjoy everything about it. So that's actually really cool. The next thing I want to talk about when it comes to the wire bugs is Silkbind attacks, I believe is what it's called. Now, I'm not going to go on too long about this one because I personally haven't actually used a lot of them. I again don't use a whole lot of weapons, but I'm trying. I promise you guys I'm trying to branch out to other weapons, but as it stands, I want to actually give my thoughts on the things that I know strongly about, so that way I wouldn't give people a weird impression or weird like thought about how certain things work, where in which I think I do, but I don't quite know because I don't know that particular weapon. With that being said, I do like how they did the quote-unquote enrage guard for the lance. I don't know what it's actually called as far as silk binding attacks go, but it's definitely an enrage guard from Generations, where I think it's the Z, L, and A attack, where it's like a counter, if you will, and if the monster attacks it, the stronger the attack the monster would deal to you, the more damage you get out of the attack. It's essentially an install attack where your lance becomes like, well, you get a huge attack bonus from your lance. It's only a temporary thing. It lasts maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, that kind of thing. But it's cool because the Enrage Guard itself was a very powerful attack. Like, you could do it and it would last for a lot longer. The thing is, though, you have to build up the gauge for it, where in this, all you have to do is build up a wire bug. And I think it expends only one wire bug to get a huge attack bonus like the next 30 or so seconds. I actually really like that a lot more than they did the original Rage Guard, so that's actually really cool. The same goes for the gun lance. The gun lance has a particular thing similar to that. It's almost of a counter. You use the same button prompts, and what you do is once you do it, you gain sharpness to your your gun lance, which is really cool. Small nuance things like that. Nothing that really breaks the game. I mean, you could do it multiple times over, so that way you can not ever have to take you put your lance up, your gun lance up, so that way you have to sharpen it. But it adds enough to the game to where it feels, gosh, I forget the word. Whatever the word is, where you can kind of do things without the need of outside help or something like that. Self-sufficient, if you will. It keeps it relatively self-sufficient and fun. And going to the gun lance some more, the Z, L, and X attack, where we all know you can just fly in the sky. It's really cool. Now, you don't have to use that to fly in the sky per se. It can just be really used for a really strong like slam attack, but let's be real here. Being able to actually fly high in the sky and then come down with the slam is a lot of fun. So I don't know how much utility I will actually get out of that one, outside of it being used as a means to avoid some damage. Like, let's say a monster is prepping a really big attack, I can just kind of do that to keep myself out of harm's way, almost not indefinitely, but for a large measure of time. But so far, I do like the Silkbind attacks. I don't feel as if they are everything you need in the entire world. Like in Generations, the entire game revolved around the styles and the arts. And in this game, I kind of feel like, oh, they're there if you would like to use them. You don't have to use them. You can get a lot done without them. But if you want to use them, they're totally there and they can totally help, which is how it should be. It shouldn't be the bread, the butter, the whole biscuit, the whole nine for a particular thing. It should just be something that helps get you along your way versus being absolutely needed to do anything. So with all that being said, that's pretty much everything I really feel about Monster Hunter Rise. So far, these are my impressions. I mean, I've only played the demo, this one area, these handful of monsters, and I feel everything's fine. I like the changes they made to Arzuros. I mean, I'm gonna rapid fire some things I like. I like the change they made to Arzuros, the fact that he's now a bit more of a brawler, if you will. The slight graphical changes by him having like his fur move, that's actually really cool. Mizusane's new musical theme is actually really nice. Mizusane's actual new attack, I can't talk. Mizusane's new attacks are really fun. The Izuchi, I think, the great monster in this game, very cool monster. I really like the fact that he and his compadres work together. That's a lot of fun. What else? I don't really like the UI though. The UI, the whole user interface, the thing you're seeing on your screen, I don't like it that much. I think it's kind of busy. There's a lot in there and I just don't like it all that much. So 100% per usual, I'm turning everything off. Even if I wanted some effects on, I might just leave the wire bug maybe, and maybe the health, but I don't know. I just don't like it. It just looks too much. It's the reason why I turn off the HUD. It's a whole lot of crap all over my face. I don't like seeing any of that. But other than that, so far, that's essentially it. I think the next thing I'll probably end up doing is like weapon impressions, like full-on weapon impressions. I just kind of give a generalized thing. I'll talk about the full things that I do and don't like about the lance and the gun lance and other weapons that I tend to play, but for the most part, that seems to be about it. So with that being said, everyone, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next time we do a video. But we are 100% going to start bringing back some Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate videos, so expect those within a week or so. Yeah, that's all I have. Take care.